Hello everybody, it is me, Jones MJ here, an award where Nintendo sells this. The question is, why does Nintendo also still sell this? The Nintendo 3DS came out all the way back in 2011, making it 9 years old. Since then, multiple revisions of the Nintendo 3DS have been made, including the new Nintendo 3DS like the one I have here. However, if you're picking up a Nintendo 3DS in 2020, you'll be picking between the new 2DS XL and the standard 2DS. But should you? Let's discuss. So for this video, I'll be using my Black Friday new Nintendo 3DS since, well, this is the only 3DS I have and I don't have a 2DS or new 2DS XL to use for this video. However, the new 2DS XL is pretty much the exact same thing as this, just a slightly different design. Aside from obviously different box art depending on the model you get, the unboxing for a 3DS or 2DS is pretty much the exact same. You'll get an instruction manual, AR cards, a power cord for the new 2DS models, as well as the system itself. In terms of the design, it's pretty nice. Now obviously, once again, this is the smaller new Nintendo 3DS, however, it's pretty much very similar to the 3DS XL as well as the 2DS. You'll get nice rounded corners which add to a nice grip of the system. My specific model has the changeable faceplates, however, I don't feel like showing you that right now because I have a clear case on my 3DS to protect it from scratches, so yeah. On the bottom of the system, you'll get the game card slot, headphone jack, stylus, as well as the power button. There isn't really anything on either of the sides. And on the back, you get your triggers, your LNR ones, as well as your extra ZL and ZR ones that were added in the new 3DS models. You also have your proprietary port for charging, a little place to put a wrist strap, as well as an IR sensor. And as far as the controls go, as I already mentioned, you have the triggers on the back of the system. So standard A, B, X, Y buttons, as well as a traditional Nintendo D-pad onto the bottom left, start and select, as well as a circle pad which kind of acts like an analog stick. And then on the new 3DS models you get the C-stick, which pretty much just acts as a second analog stick, although it's not the exact same feeling as a circle pad. You also have a volume slider to the left of the screen to adjust the volume for the stereo speakers, which actually sound pretty good for a 3DS. And then on the models that support 3D, you'll have a 3D depth slider on the right side. You'll also notice that you'll have some cameras, one on the above the top screen as well as two on the outside, which can be used for taking some fun little low-res 3D pictures and also can be used for AR games. The resolution is honestly extremely bad, and you're probably not going to be wanting to use this as a photo or video device, but it works fine for the games that support them. As far as the stylus goes, it's fine, not quite as nice as the one that came with like my DS Lite, but it's pretty good. Here's it side by side with the new Nintendo 3DS XL stylus, and the new Nintendo 2DS XL stylus would be a little bit shorter than the new Nintendo 3DS stylus, just for some reference. However, all three sizes are just big enough to be fine for most games that would use them. One of the nice things about the 3DS was that it was actually Nintendo's first console to support downloadable games. Oh yeah, the DSi and the Wii technically had like some virtual console and some like little smaller games. It wasn't like the full-on AAA games like the 3DS does. I also just prefer digital download games instead of physical games on a handheld, just because I don't really like having to carry around a lot of cartridges. What's also cool is that the Nintendo 3DS is fully backwards compatible with DS games, which is awesome because not only do you get the amazing 3DS library, but you also get the amazing DS library. On a little side note, on my personal unit, I actually bought an R4 3DS card for my Nintendo 3DS so I could play all of my DS games on one cartridge. If you guys want a video on one of these and how to set one up, let me know down in the comments. And lastly, before we talk about some of the great games on the 3DS, I'll just mention the operating system real quick. As you can see on the bottom, all of your apps are displayed on the bottom, as well as you can also customize where they are, as well as how big and how small they are. And on the top screen, it will display information about whatever app you pick. The operating system overall performs fine. It's not going to be as like quick and snappy as say a smartphone interface, but it gets the job done totally fine. On a side note, something I find absolutely hilarious is that the Nintendo 3DS actually has an internet browser and Netflix, two things that the Nintendo Switch still doesn't have. Come on Nintendo, please add those. Alrighty, now let's take a look at some amazing 3DS games. Now obviously I don't have every single good game on the 3DS, so if you do not see your favorite game in this video, that doesn't mean that I don't think it's good, I just don't have it. So firstly, there's Mario Kart 7. Released back in late 2011, this game is easily one of the best games on the 3DS as it is part of one of the best franchises of Nintendo. As I'm sure all of you guys know, Mario Kart is a game about racing where you have to get in first and use items to trip up your CPUs. In addition to obviously some new courses, this game also introduced gliding and racing underwater. Super Mario 3D Land was also introduced relatively early in the 3DS lifecycle, and this is the 3D Mario game for the 3DS. It overall takes kind of a new Super Mario Bros. Approach, but puts it into 3D. Personally, I don't like this kind of style as much as I liked Galaxy and Super Mario 64, but still, this game can be pretty fun. Speaking of Super Mario Bros., New Super Mario Bros. 2 was released on the 3DS, and it is the successor to New Super Mario Bros. Released on the DS. It obviously features some improved graphics, some new worlds, as well as some new items. The 3DS was also Nintendo's first handheld to feature Smash Bros., and it actually runs very, very well for the 3DS. The graphics look pretty good even to today's standards, and you can have up to 4 people in a single match. It also supports online, and while unfortunately there's no adventure mode, it's still a ton of fun. 3DS was also the first handheld to feature Super Mario Maker after its debut on the Wii U, and the 3DS version is pretty good. It has most of the items that the Wii U version had. However, unfortunately, sharing courses was kind of limited on the 3DS. I'm not sure if that was because of limitations of the 3DS or something else, but still, this was a good game for the 3DS. Of course, a ton of great Pokemon games as of every Nintendo handheld that were all great. Unfortunately, I don't have any, so I can't show. But one game that I thought was pretty neat that eventually came out for the 3DS was Minecraft. Now, obviously, it doesn't run like as amazing as it will on like another console or on PC, but it was nice to get it on the 3DS. And of course, as already mentioned, the 3DS was fully backwards compatible with DS games. Here's the little menu on my R4 of some of the DS games I have. So overall, the 3DS was a pretty great handheld. It had a nice design, it had an amazing game library, it was also backwards compatible with all the Nintendo DS games. It was overall a solid console. However, now with the Nintendo Switch being out and that it can also be a portable console in addition to a home console, the era of owning a portable console has kind of come to an end now. Right now you can pick up a Nintendo Switch Lite, which is pretty similar to the Switch I have here, only it can't be docked, for around $199 brand new from Nintendo, which makes the 3DS kind of a hard sell since it's only $50 cheaper. If you currently own a Switch but not a 3DS, and want to experience the 3DS library, then the 3DS might be worth a pickup. It seriously had some great games, and while it won't be receiving really any new games, you can definitely re-enjoy some great games that you might have missed out on. However, if you're asking me whether you should go for a 3DS or a Switch, I would have to say go for the Switch, simply because it's a newer console and still has a long life ahead of it, while the 3DS's life has come to an end, especially given that you can pick up a Nintendo Switch Lite for only $50 more than a new 2DS XL and have all that future support and life left. Now don't get me wrong, I still love my 3DS and will continue to play it for a while. However, for most people, the Nintendo Switch is just simply going to be a better purchase. And I think that just about wraps up this video. Do you currently own a 3DS? And if so, which model? Or do you not own a 3DS and are still considering picking one up in 2020? Be sure to let me know all that good stuff down in the comments below. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next one.